Hello, everyone. Glad you can make it out on this nice day. My name is Josh Snyder, Public Works Engineer with the City of Sandusky. Today we have a presentation on the Cleveland Road Safety Project. I'm sure each of you have at least an area of interest, maybe multiple areas of interest. We do have billboards set up for different points along Cleveland Road that are to be addressed with this safety project. It's not a singular project or location. Just a little bit about me really quick. I started with Sandusky 23 years ago as a traffic engineer, and when I came, one of my tasks was to help move traffic along 250 and get it off of 250, because 250 was the main route in and out of Shores and First Street and obviously Cedar Point, the whole entertainment area on Cleveland Road. What we're finding now with the advent of in-vehicle mobile mapping, real-time traffic data, much more traffic is coming from the east, picking up Cleveland Road at Rye Beach in the Huron area. And so that shift in traffic evidenced by reduction in traffic. I have some counts from when I was traffic engineer here. In early 2000s, traffic's been reduced on Butler Street alone by 60%. So there's a little piece of evidence that there's less traffic coming from the west on Cleveland Road and more from the east. And so much of that shift in traffic and that demand of traffic is what's driving these projects that ODOT is supporting, and this is termed a Cleveland Road Safety Project. So with that little bit of history, I'm going to turn this over to our consultants. I will let you know that the Erie County MPO had commissioned a study in 2018 on the entire Route 6 corridor from Huron to Sandusky, and Trans Systems was the transportation consultant on that project. And one of the items, and probably a hot item today, is a roundabout was selected as a more efficient traffic control option for Cedar Point Drive and Cleveland Road. Being skeptical or leery of that personally, moving forward, when ODOT said that this project was a viable, good project and they liked it, we, the city, were able to select our own consultant, and we actually picked American Structure Point, and I tasked them and said, hey, wait a minute, this roundabout thing's not going to be awesomely popular. We need to look at different things. You guys need to dig deep. And so of the options that American Structure Point looked at was multi-lane traffic signal, as in 2 lanes on each approach to what was there previously. I'll let them finish the story, but even with what they came up with of that configuration, it didn't run as efficiently as a roundabout at this location. So in a nutshell, I was proved wrong that I was against it to begin with, and in a second sense, I was like, no, you guys need to try looking at all the alternatives for how a signal can operate here, and it just didn't pan out to be as efficient. And so I'll just give you that little bit of background. I'll let these guys explain the rest of it, but today with us from American Structure Point out of Columbus, Ohio, we have Tony Leonard, Frank Arnaski in the blue shirt, and Rick Paul, who greeted you, and he's at the comment table. The last thing I'll mention, just a couple items of housekeeping. There are restrooms right around this room over here on that wall. Secondly, comment sheets are going to be super important for feedback to ODOT. Things in writing are very, very good. It's great that we have good conversation here today. Greater is you writing down your feelings, your thoughts, your likes, your dislikes of everything you see here. So again, appreciate you all for coming out. This is live streamed, and so anyone who can't attend it, have them get on the city's website and they can watch this also at a later time, at a later date, if they happen to miss today's meeting. But I'm hopeful for good conversation here and a lot comes out of it. With that, I'll turn it over to Tony. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. As you mentioned, my name is Tony Lenhart. I'm a design engineer in the project. I've been with Structure Point for over 16 years now. I lead a group of 11 people. We do a lot of design, we do a lot of roundabouts, we do a lot of intersection improvements, so we're well versed in the transportation field. So the way I foresee this working, we'll do a 10-15 minute presentation here with PowerPoints, and then myself, Frank, Rick, and Gannon, who's also one of our traffic engineers, will be here. We'll be spread out across the room, and that way you guys, if you want to ask questions, will be stationed around here. But as Josh said, it's very important that you fill out a comment sheet and have your comments written down. That way we can officially respond through ODOT. So to give you a little overview of the project, we're doing the Cleveland Road improvements. We did a traffic study studying the intersections from Sycamore Line, Avondale, McKinley, Cleveland Butler, Cleveland Cowdrey, Cedar Point, Harbor Parkway, Remington, as well as the Butler Milan and Milan and Sycamore Line intersections. So with every ODOT project, you have a purpose and need statement. And the purpose of this project is to improve the congestion and mobility along the Cleveland Road corridor. Some of the need components are vehicle safety. As Josh had mentioned, Trans-Systems did a traffic study. They did accident data from 2015 to 2017. And it's important that we use those dates because that was pre-pandemic when traffic volumes really changed. So we did traffic analysis of this current year, but this is a more representative of what was going to happen because the last 2 years, 3 years really now, have been a little unique. So this shows all the accidents along the corridor, broken out intersection, as well as locations between the intersections. Kind of a breakdown of it. There's 111. Of those 111, 30 of them were injury, 80 were property damage only. There was an unknown other crash in there that they didn't specify injury or property damage. So that's why those two numbers don't match. But as well, you can see the different types. There's a lot of rear end collisions. There's a lot of left turn and side swipes. As well as there's a head-on parked vehicle and other. We also did a traffic analysis of all the intersections. So in order to maintain a signal, it needs to meet certain warrants, whether that's, again, it's 12-hour, peak hour as well. There's several different, and if you have questions about that, Gannon's our traffic engineer, you can break down the different warrants. But as we show here, there's the Milan Butler intersection does not meet warrant, as well as the Cleveland Road, Avondale, McKinley, the Cleveland Road, Cowdrey, and the Cleveland Road, Harbor Parkway. It did not meet warrant during the traffic signal, and there's a caveat here. During the traffic counts, the hotel was under construction, so we're actually going back out here in a couple weeks, and we're going to capture new data while it's open, full access, so we feel that it's warranted, and we're going to get new traffic data to prove that. Also part of the safety improvements, because this is a safety project, we're looking at access management, and that's really defining where vehicles enter and exit the roadway. When you have wide open driveways or spaces where anyone can pull out in any direction, that's where you get a lot of accidents or collisions. We're also improving pedestrian facilities as well as bicycles. And fixing corridor deficiencies. Having signals at intersections that aren't warranted is a deficiency. You're slowing down moving traffic that really causes driver frustration as well as unsafe decisions. If you get stuck at a red light and you don't see anyone coming, there's more of a chance that people will run the red light or make an unsafe turning movement. As well as widening some of the radiuses of the roadway. As you can see in the corner, there's a lot of over-tracking. So we'll be widening the radius as well as beefing up the sidewalk and curb in those sections. Little project history to date, there was that corridor study done by Trans Systems. There's also a 2045 long-range transportation plan by the Erie County MPO, as well as our feasibility study that we did that went over the different alternatives for the intersections. As Josh mentioned, some of the major project components is traffic has changed. People have phones, have navigation systems in their car, and it doesn't necessarily take you the route that the city wants you to drive. It takes you the nearest, closest way. So if there's a closer way that you can get from point A to point B, your navigation system is going to take you. And that's why you're seeing a lot more traffic that's coming from the east side of town down Cleveland Road as opposed to up 250 and down Butler Road, which is where they want you to drive. We're going to be replacing unwarranted signals with two-way stops. Again, that helps with the congestion along the corridor, as well as preventing unsafe movements at red lights. Converting the existing signal from at Cedar Point Drive from a signal to a roundabout, as well as adding sidewalk from Harbor Parkway down to East Shoreway to connect to the future bike trail there, as well as extending turn lanes on Sycamore Line and Remington. These turn lanes are long, and a lot of people think you need that storage for that turn movement, but really what's driving those lengths is the through movement of the road. So you have so much through traffic that's going through there. If you want to turn left, you have to wait all the way through for that queue to get up before you can make a left. So to avoid unsafe movements of people going left to center to go up to that turn lane, you extend these turn lane widths or turn lane lengths. That way they have a safe corridor to drive up and make their turning movement. So here as our study, we looked at Sycamore Line, we looked at several alternatives of widening the roadway, whether we widen to the east, whether we widen to the west. Really, how can we fit this additional turn lane length in here? Same thing went for Remington. It was always going to be signal. We needed to know what side of the road do we need to shift to. The intersection at Cleveland Road is one that was a signal. It was recommended to be a roundabout in the Trans Systems study, as well as our study. Roundabouts are very efficient at moving traffic through. You don't have to stop and wait for a light to move. It's always through traffic moving. It's really amazing to see the amount of traffic that will go through a single lane roundabout compared to what a traditional 2 or 3 lane turning movement would make. So breaking down the preferred alternative in a little more detail, Sycamore Line and Cleveland Road, we're adding 50 feet to the turn lane on Sycamore Line. It was 150, now it's going to be 200. And we're widening Sycamore Line. We're going to the east. The properties along the west have a lot of grade moving from the sidewalk up to the property, as well as steep driveways. So by pushing it to the east, it's a little flatter there, and it doesn't require as much property from the local property owners. On Cleveland Road, we're extending the turn lane from 225 to 425. Currently, right now, it's a 2-way left turn lane, so we're just doing a restriping exercise here. It's not really widening any pavement. We're able to stay within the existing curb lanes. Moving on to the Cedar Point Drive and Harbor Parkway intersections. Cedar Point Drive, Trans Systems recommended, as well as our recommendation, was to convert the existing signal to a roundabout. We're also implementing access management. That's to stop people from turning right outside of the roundabout. You don't want someone to wait to try and turn left out of an exit because they're going to back up traffic into a roundabout. Same thing with signals too. When you have driveways close to intersections, it leads to unsafe turning movements. We're also adding new overhead wayfindage signing. So they're going to be an overhead cantilever sign that's going to point you, if you want to go straight, you're going to know to be in the left lane. If you want to go, or depending on which direction you are, you're going to assign a lane and you'll know ahead of time to know to be in the right lane, so you're not turning or switching lanes in the roundabout. For Harbor Parkway, again, we're going to confirm this with the new traffic data that we collect in July. We're implementing access management along, would be the north side of Cleveland Road near Harbor Parkway. We're adding an eastbound left turn lane on Cleveland Road. We're adding a westbound right turn lane in for a driveway access. So you're getting any of those vehicles that are going to stop to turn into Quaker Steak or the hotel, they'll be moved out of the through lane to allow traffic to keep moving, as well as we're adding bus bump outs for transit use. At Remington intersection, it's similar to Sycamore Line, where we looked at different alternatives here. This one was more widening across the center of the pavement because we're able to keep most of the widening within the existing right-of-way. Due to some of the intersection radiuses, we have a couple corner property takes that will be needed for the signal pole placement. But in general, we're able to stay along the corridor within the right-of-way. We're adding additional left turn storage on Cleveland Road. We're going from 125 to 450. In the westbound direction, we're going from 125 to 500. And again, as explained earlier, it's not the storage needed for that turn lane. It's to allow someone to safely turn left or turn right without being blocked by the through traffic. As well as we're adding a right turn lane for the eastbound traffic, and we're adding bus bump outs on the east side of the intersection. As I mentioned as well, we're doing sidewalk improvements from Harbor Parkway to East Shoreway. We looked at several different alternatives for this as well, whether we have the sidewalk up against the curb or we have sidewalk back along the right-of-way. Along the existing right-of-way now, there is existing overhead utilities as well as some drainage structures. So by putting the sidewalk up against the back of the right-of-way, you're actually going to acquire more property in order to relocate utilities as well as grading for the sidewalk through there. So to limit the amount of property acquisition as well as the amount of utility relocations, we're proposing having the sidewalk up along the curb there. Maintenance of traffic. Every construction project, there is a burden to some of the community during construction. So we try to limit that as much as possible. With our turn lane widenings, we're going to maintain traffic two-way while we'll be constructing to the outside. So you'll have two-way traffic maintained at all times. We'll maintain access to homes and businesses during construction. For the roundabout, we're still going through the MOT design. We've completed our stage one, which is a lot of your line grade typical. It's the horizontal down part of it. Our stage two design is our maintenance of traffic and how we're going to maintain traffic during construction. So our conceptual plan is to have a partial closure. Probably it'd be the Cedar Point Drive. We'll be maintaining east-west traffic along Cleveland Road. And then once the southern half of the roundabouts created or designed and constructed, then we'd be flipping traffic to the north. So that's still under design. As I said, that's our plan for right now. But as we go through detailed design, some items may change. But most importantly, we'll be maintaining access to businesses during construction. Right away, with both alternatives that we looked at, the signal or the roundabout, right away would be needed on the corner of some of the intersections. So permanent right-of-way is needed for the footprint of the roundabout, as well as sidewalk and utility strips. There will be temporary right-of-way needed for maintaining access to driveways, as well as some of the construction or some of the grading bends outside of the right-of-way. But with temporary right-of-way, you'll not be changing the characteristic of your property. It's more just access during construction. And as I mentioned before, and just want to drive home the point, we're maintaining access to your business and construction during, or maintaining your access to your business and your home during construction. As part of our study, we also did some environmental work. There will be impacts to the wetland associated with the roundabout at Cedar Point Drive. You can see that on our renderings and in the exhibits. want to let everyone know all necessary permits will be obtained prior to any work being done within these tributaries. There will not be any stream impacts with this project, and there will be minimal vegetation disturbed within the right-of-way. Noise levels are expected to remain the same within the corridor, and all our environmental studies are still ongoing, but we're getting close to wrapping up, and that should be the gist of our impacts. Constraints, I want to let everyone know that we have constraints that we follow. We have to operate consistent with the law. We have to operate consistent with sound engineering and design standards. And we got to stay within the scope of our project. When we start this design, we come up with the scope of services of the work that we're going to do, which are to meet the purpose need of the project, which in this case is addressing mobility, congestion, and corridor improvements. We also need to stay within our budget as well as time and dollars. So we know there's federal funding tied to this project, and we have to hit certain construction dates as well as design dates. So we've been hitting this project full steam ahead to make these dates work, because as you can see here in a second, we have a pretty tight schedule. Right now is our virtual public meeting. Today we have comment period open for 30 days. Our actual design started back in this winter, December 21. We got through our preliminary design. We're now into detailed design, and that is scheduled to wrap up in March of 23. This fall, we're going to have our environmental clearance dates. All our studies will be completed, and we'll be submitting our documentation to ODOT and the EPA. This winter, as I mentioned, there's some property acquisitions needed. We'll have a right-of-way acquisition consultant on board for any discussion if property is needed. That will happen this winter through the following winter of 23. The project will be sold the spring of 24, and construction will be sometime in the spring, summer, fall of 24. Next steps, like I mentioned, we did the preliminary design. The intent of this public presentation is to provide you with an update on the project, where we're at with our preliminary design, and get your feedback to ensure that we're hitting the best possible decisions for the community. We welcome your input and encourage you to provide comment forms. It's, as Josh mentioned, and I'll try and hammer home again, fill out a comment form. If you have an official comment form filled out, we'll respond, and there'll be an official response you'll receive if you fill out your information properly. How to get involved? Like I said, fill out the comment form. We also have a project website where all of these boards, this presentation, recording of here, all the information that's available about the project will be on that website, structurepointpublic.com, Cleveland Road Improvements. It's also on the city's website if you want to link to there. But you can also phone in, email Josh, or if you want to handwrite, you can write comment as well. And we also pulled together a little traffic rendering showing the proposed improvements along the corridor. This is design your traffic for the PM peak hour. So bear with me for a second. There we go.
Tony, can you tell them what that means?
Oh, sorry.
Design your traffic, what
Yes.
this is showing?
So design your traffic is projected for 20 years out. And you do peak hours, AM or PM, which is usually your morning or afternoon rush, or depending on your community, maybe your peak hour could be in noon because you're a heavy noon. So it's wherever you have the highest concentration of traffic. So that's what we design our projects to. So projecting out 20 years for that PM peak hour, or rush hour as you'd call it. Probably should have put some audio to make it a little more interesting, but this is the Sycamore Line and Cleveland Road intersection. So this is using proposed modeling, and we overlaid an aerial a map. So we have a simulated traffic program that projects the design your traffic onto here with our proposed improvements overlaid on an aerial. This is moving down the line to Butler and Milan. And this is one of the intersections where we're removing a traffic signal. It'll be through traffic on 250 there, as well as stop traffic on Butler. This is moving up Butler to the Avondale, McKinley, and Butler intersections. This is the one where we're removing the signal at Avondale and McKinley, but leaving the signal at Butler and Cleveland. So through traffic on Cleveland Road it'll be free flow, there will be no stopping, and it'll be stop controlled on Avondale and McKinley. And then we pan on over to Cowdrey intersection. This was an existing signal, will now be stop controlled on Cowdrey, as well as you have a business access to the north. Moving along to the east, we come up to the Cedar Point intersection with Cleveland Road.
This is supposed to be during peak time?
This is,
They've never been here in July and August.
Yeah.
now listen.
This is winter time here.
Yeah. We'll have our traffic engineer give a better description of what peak hour traffic is than I can.
Show you peak. What police you at? That one there.
All right. With that, I appreciate you guys coming out and attending the meeting today. We have comment forms in the back there, as well as we'll be stationed around at our different renderings or billboards. If you have a question.
With the comment slide back up with the address on.
Sure.
Thank you.
But with that, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say, Josh, or if not, we'll be around to talk with and go over any questions you may have.
Are you, Josh, I got a question. Are you guys going up on our taxes? And also, I tried to dial that number and it disconnected me several times because I had questions to ask about this Cleveland Road project.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I'll be glad to talk to you today on that. As far as your taxes go, this project is not impacting that. The funding that we've secured for the bulk of this, 95% of this project is being paid by ODOT. So there's a 5% share that we have to participate that will be coming locally, but that is already built into funding that we have in place. That's not additional funding for you.
So it's not gonna take up our property tax or anything like that?
The bulk of your property tax goes to schools. Your income taxes actually go to, I mean, that's a separate discussion of how your taxes are split, but in general, your property taxes don't fund city operations. But
Does the city control this project, or is it ODOT telling you what to do?
great question. Yeah. I mean, them being 95% in on, skin in on the game. Certainly, they're heavy into this. We're managing it with the bulk of it being their money. So it's a partnership. I don't want to say that we're. I don't want to say we have the final say either, because they are involved. So it's like
Who be acquiring the right of way, the city or not?
there's a consultant working as a sub-consultant to American Structure Point.
Who's the entity that's acquiring the actual fee? Acquire from property, or who's acquired, who takes title to it? Is it ODOT or the city?
The city would take it as right-of-way.
Okay, so the city's gonna be the, okay.
Another question, 250, is 2 lanes. When you hit Butler Street, is that still gonna be 2 lanes going down Butler Street?
At the end of this project, yes. This project does not affect Butler Street.
So I'm correct, you got 2 lanes coming down 250, going down Butler Street, 2 lanes. You're gonna make a right-hand turn, you got 2 lanes going down. So that means if you need 2 lanes going all the way, that means there's traffic all the way going down. Now, when you hit Cedar Point and the Causeway, you turn down to 1 lane. That's gonna be a big cluster. Because there used to be 2 lanes to go left into Cedar Point.
Correct.
Yeah, now you're taking 2 lanes, trying to put them into 1. You're gonna
Yeah.
have more accidents there, because people want to get to
You
Cedar
got
Point.
across, and you got people walking across the street.
Yeah, well, I think, I tried to explain that there has been a reduction in traffic coming up 250 and Butler Street. I mean, it's just numbers, right? Like, from 2012 till 2022, that 10-year span, traffic on Butler Street, northbound, coming toward Cleveland, has reduced 60%.
You're
So,
still keeping 2 lanes going down. Still-
yeah, physically, there'll be 2 lanes.
There's gotta be a reason that you're keeping 2 lanes, that means there's enough traffic to keep it 2 lanes.
Yeah.
Coming down.
I think there's,
Talking like.
yeah, no, good, all good conversation, good points. I think,
About you have 3 lanes going in.
yeah, I think now we're gonna break into points of interest, because each of you have good points, and I don't want anybody to get bulldozed by a singular conversation that may be fantastic. And so I think this is be a good point to break out, and those interested in the Sycamore and Cleveland Road, that's the far one. The roundabout is here in the middle. Remington's here. This is an overview, talking in really general terms. I just don't want anyone missed that has commentary. We do have a lot of people here. So I think there's a lot of good input.
They did all these studies, but Pipe Street isn't mentioned
That's
at
the
all.
only thing, you need to restudy Pipe Street, because everybody's coming down Pipe Street.
Everybody's going down and there's no turn signal.
I think that's part of what we're talking about. The reason for many of these changes is because traffic is following phones, is following their cars, and they're going the quickest way to their destination. And so that's why.
Nothing to relieve on Pipe Street there. People
Correct.
are making left-hand turns and squealing tires.
Right, not with this you're correct, not with this project. Well, what this project is dealing with is US Route 6. We've gotten federal funding for it, and I'm not disagreeing. I realize Remington and Pipe have both picked up traffic. We can't solve all of these problems in one singular project. This is going a great way to moving traffic and keeping US 6, which is an arterial route, to keeping that traffic moving. There are things that need addressed on Pipe and Remington. I'm not going to say there's not.
I see the need for, traffic to move steady on that. But as it is right now, coming out of Power Ave and Pipe Street, the only way we can get onto Cleveland Road is if the light changes at Cedar Point Drive.
Yeah.
Or Front Parkway. You cannot get out on Cleveland Road.
And you're taking
Now the
that right
traffic's
away.
gonna continue. We'll
You
never
know,
get out.
your intentions are good, and I compliment you all. And you're using the reason that most of the traffic now is coming in off the west side. We have an enormous investment. You're actually cutting my family's arms off for the rest of their lives, for what you're doing to our corner. Now, having said that, when you're coming down from the west side, how's my customer going to get into into our lot?
Yes.
How are they going to get in, and how are they going to get out? Not only from us, what about the rest of the businesses that are in Route 6 and Cleveland Road? So that I know you have good intentions. You're not here to destroy our business, but you're not giving us any alternatives for answers to that. I think money's going to resolve everything, but we're not interested in money. We're interested in our asset to be protected. All these good people that are coming into us for 40-some years. You chased me 40 years ago, you chased my family out of Cleveland Road. We went to 250, we developed 250. Now it almost looks like a plot to chase the rest of my investments on the corner of Cedar Point Drive to go out to 250 again. So I'm just saddened to see the idea behind it. We've been quietly patient with respect, But I've come in here today with my brother and counsel to see if there's an answer. And there's no answer. There's no access. All you did was put your hand over my mouth, and I can't breathe anymore.
Yeah,
And we need answers, either some kind of alternative to enter, a bridge to go over the top of it, but we have some serious investment here.
I don't disagree.
Unless you want us to, you want me to go downtown, because you'll stab Jesus Christ in the back for downtown, but you won't do a damn thing for our company on Cleveland Road.
And I think you're in a,
And we need to sit down here with somebody to
yeah,
discuss this with.
you guys are in a
And have
position.
public forum and with respect.
You guys are in a position where you're affected more than most property owners directly with this project, and we do need to have a separate meeting. I think this public forum is a point in time, a moment where we can allow lots of conversation,
And we
but
respect that, but
but we do need specific conversation with you guys because you're affected greatly, your business is affected greatly. I'm not going to mince words on that. And I think the access points need to be worked through, involving your property specifically.
Let's get it done before we have to go to litigation with it. Because these mouthpieces are costing us a lot of money.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah, when it comes to roundabouts. That roundabout that you put in Bogart and Campbell, that is a disaster. A couple times I almost had an accident. I've had people lay on the horn. I don't know who has the right of way. And you want to put a big, Cedar Point can only hold so many cars. What was it, 2021? The park was jam-packed full and every right of way, Cleveland Road, Pipe Street, everywhere. Traffic couldn't move. They were at a standstill. Putting a 4-lane highway with a roundabout when the park is full? You can't, how are you gonna get people, 90% of the people that come to Cedar Point are from out of town, out of state.
Hey,
How do you get this information out to people? The park's full, people, stop coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have a lot of different side opinions, and I think we have experts here today, and I think it's a good time for us to break out and speak amongst ourselves, and we can talk with the consultants. That's exactly what we have them here for.
I just want to say one thing, speaking for the younger generation in the room. And I know some people aren't happy with the current roundabout. All right, and I get it, change is frustrating, and it's not easy. But I've lived in Italy and all around Europe, spent a lot of time in Australia. Roundabouts work. They always don't work, but in his sense, I understand how he's saying that with his business, and it does, it affects it in a big way, and there needs to be a solution. But in terms of the roundabout itself, it is a great idea. They work all over the world, and the US is trying to play catch up. So and a lot of people love, it's a better intersection on Campbell and Bogart than having to stop and keep waiting and pulling out in front of it. It's always been great. I think this is a fantastic project, and this needs to be done along with other issues, like they're all mentioned. I don't want to dissuade that at all or put that down, but I just wanted to speak for the younger people at least. I know we appreciate it. It makes things easier and a little faster. So on that, I want to thank you for your guys' hard work on this.
I just have a question about how a roundabout works. If traffic is backed up from the gardens at Cedar Point, all the way down, both lanes, all the way down to Causeway, all the way down back to Rye Beach Road, nobody's moving, how does the roundabout keep traffic moving in that instance?
Well, the big problem, or a big difference with roundabouts as opposed to traffic signals. Everyone always thinks, well, current condition, traffic is backed up. Traffic's backed up because they're waiting at red lights to move forward.
No, they're not.
So, yes, they are.
No, I live there, so they're not.
It doesn't move. I'm down from Columbus. We had Morse Road, which is a 2-lane highway. Traffic would back up for miles. I'm being literal, miles of traffic back up. They put in 2 roundabouts and there's not a single backup of traffic now.
I leave my
It's just
house,
traffic.
leave the road, I go all the way to Route 6, on to Route 2.
There's no stopping.
The traffic is still there. There's no red light issue.
But the issue with the red light though is on Fifth Street, First Street. So when Fifth Street gets triggered because the GPS takes you down a side road, now you've got traffic that's gonna, I mean, last summer, I watched traffic every day around 10 o'clock, back up for about an hour or two, but it's because those side streets were cutting off that flow of traffic. So, I mean, 'cause that's actually why I'm here, like, my concern is if traffic is stopped in there, we can't get the roundabout moving as efficiently, how are emergency vehicles gonna get through?
Yeah.
Because, I mean.
Same way they moved through today. You got, everyone's leaving the park. Everyone's either leaving the park or entering the park, right? So emergency vehicles can travel in the open lane.
But there is no open lane, that's what we're saying, like if it's
In the
stopped.
opposite direction, right? They have right of way, they turn on lights, they're able to go the opposite direction.
The only
They go
question
opposite
that I
direction.
have is, who controls from